Tonight's podcast, we're here with Robbie Brennan, the wristlock bandit of Dublin, master barbecue master, and van life enthusiast, I suppose, are some of your titles. We can go into some more of that later as we go on. But how's things, Robbie?
Good, thank you. Good, glad to be on. Get me my glasses.
Yeah. Thought you're putting on sunglasses. I was just like, the cool man with sunglasses. How's things? How are you getting on with lockdown, and how's life treating you?
Good. Yeah, I've been lucky enough to be working all the way through it. So I'm it's not bad. I'm doing a bit of training now at the moment. Just have a little pod with either Luke here or bit of kettlebell training and cycling and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah,
Joined
you're mad cycling.
No, I used to do a lot of cycling years ago. And then I got a bike, on the bike to work scheme there a couple of weeks ago. So last Saturday was the first decent spin with the lads. So I done 60 odd kilometers. Darby turned up on Red's bike in a tracksuit with runners on, and still done 100 kilometers. And then, you know,
Darby's like a greyhound, though. There's no stopping him.
Yeah, exactly. He was on Red's bike. So Red was 5'8", Darby's 6 foot odd. His knee is gone. Bike knocked that up from him. Thought he was going to be in bits. He mounted it on.
Brilliant. So we've asked a few questions on the story. So we'll dig into a few of them if you're happy to jump into them.
Yeah.
Cool. So first one isn't a question that got asked this time, but Andy has asked it a few times, so I think it's worth. I like the question, so we could ask all of our guests. So basically, what does the Team Rhino affiliation and the lineage mean to you personally?
Personally, it means everything to me, really, you know. Like, even from when I was a kid, when I took up judo, I was always under one instructor, and his name was Charlie Hegarty, and he had a huge influence on me when I was a kid. Like, when I went from started judo when I was 10, and when I got to about 15, 16, I started being brought up to the adult class, which was in Kilmoyne and Blanchardstown, in the Kilmoyne Centre. And Charlie sort of took me under his wing. He used to bring me training or drop me home. Always looked after me, made sure I always got a lift home. He was a coach, or he was more than a coach to me. That way, he was nearly like a father figure. And as well as being a coach and a sensei, very much a part of it. And when he got his 6th dan, which is his red and white belt, I asked him for his black. Like, he's dead years and years, but I would never ever lose that belt. And it's the same type of thing with the Team Rhino thing, you know. Like, I had done jiu-jitsu with Andy donkeys years ago. When they started at first, it wasn't really jiu-jitsu as such. John Kavanagh was coming to Port Marnock to learn a bit of judo, and I was back from Australia. I was in Australia for 5 years, and I was back from Australia. So when first kid was born, and the lads were meeting on a Saturday in Killester, sorry, in the old judo club in Killester, the old Aga Khan. So Andy was still in his 20s at the time, so I was 42, maybe I'd say. We used to go do a bit of judo, do our judo training, and then lads would turn up to do. Like, you'd be there for the bleeding day. Like, you'd have a game of football before, you go for a run, you come back. They had one pair I remember they had one pair of MMA gloves or a boxing glove, and they used to watch videotapes of the Valley Tudo and stuff like. So I used to do a bit of that with them then, but then I was saying, still training for the judo and trying to get me bleeding head taken off down here. So I stuck with the judo, and then whenever it was 2000, and it wasn't long after Andy got his black belt. I was talking to him and I was saying I was thinking of jacking in the judo. I was finding the recovery was taking way too long after a hard session, you know. I was still training with a lot of young guys and stuff like that. And it was way too atrocious. And then he said, come on over to the jiu-jitsu, you'll transition into quickly. And I knew I would, but I loved it straight away. And it's just, Andy sort of has the same, even though he's younger than me, he sort of has the same influence on me as Charlie did when I was younger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's like, I think that's very important for someone who is a coach and a mentor. Is like the most important thing they say you can give to someone is time, and he gives a huge amount of time to everybody, you know, and it means a huge amount to me. Like, and it should mean a lot to everybody, because if someone dedicates a lot of time out of their life to give to you, it's something you can never really pay back. So it means a huge amount, you know. As well as that, that's why I've never really decided to like try and open my own gym or my own academy and stuff like that, because I do love coaching, but I equally love training. I love being on the mat. I love training. I love competing under the flag. And I love the band game, something you've done all your life. So like that, I won't say locker room mentality, but it's, you know, it is to a certain extent, you know.
Yeah. No, 100%.
So all of those are very important elements, you know. And I think that's why a lot of guys, when they come into jiu-jitsu, especially guys, you know, in their late 20s, 30s maybe, and jiu-jitsu is slightly different to other martial arts. They come in, maybe they've played football before and they haven't done a martial art, but they come in, but that's still that sort of team, still a bit of banter going on amongst the guys who are there, and that's why they settle in, I think, you know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Thought you'd gone there, you'd frozen, but yeah, that's why I think that's what you know. It's, you can understand people want to go, and you know, if you go abroad and train, no problem. You go other gyms and train, no problem. We should always try and compete underneath that flag, you know. Don't forget your roots, I suppose, as the man says, you know.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, it's one thing I noticed when I started competing abroad was, especially under Team Rhino, because I'd competed abroad before, and I suppose I never had the same team behind me, and it was almost like I won't say added pressure, but I definitely felt that there was, like, you know, I had to almost step up and represent a bit.
Yeah. You have you know, you have not, but even when I go abroad and train, like you're still representing your flag. You know that someone's, I don't want to say people are going to try and take your head off, but you still have to, you know, be able to handle yourself and represent your flag, you know. There's a sense of a care of duty to your patch, I think, you know, sort of, and that's what's unique about jiu-jitsu, you know. I think, and that's where that Brazilian sort of flair. I remember the first time I went to the Euros. Like, I had started training again in 2011, I think it was, and I wore the white belt again, and I was promoted to blue belt after 6 or 8 months or something like that, and I waited till 2013 to compete. So it was. As Andy was saying, "Oh, you go to the Euros?" Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I'd love to go. So I went, and for a couple of days, and he wasn't there, so didn't know what to expect. You know, like turned up the first day at the venue, and we were outside the old. We were in the old venue in Lisbon.
No, I'd never gone.
So it's sort of more central than where it is now. a bit smaller, but we turned up and you could hear it was the fourth day that Terrier had returned to competition. You could hear all the Brazilians chanting, "Ooh, Terrier! Ooh, Terrier!" And I was going, "What's going on?" It was like a football match. And then we went inside, and there was a couple of thousand people, all in the bleachers, all loads with their t-shirts off, shaking over the head, all chanting. You know, I was going, "This is completely different, but it seems familiar." You know that way.
Yeah.
And then, like straight away, I said, "This is like, you know, with judo, and you go to some of the big competitions." You know, especially the Japanese make no noise whatsoever. Like if you go to a tournament in Japan, it's dead quiet, except for rounds of applause, because they know the game. But the Brazilians are different. Like that football flair comes with it,
Yeah.
and that's sort of the way the Gracie family sort of broke up into different teams. Is nearly like the way Brazilian football is to a certain extent. You know, when it carries that sort of passion with it, and that day, yeah, Terrier got to the final and he got DQ'd, I think it was. I can't remember exactly, but what did stick with me was at the end of it, I think it was Alan Finfu beat him. And Alan Finfu took off his black belt, knelt down and gave it back to Terrier. And Terrier. And I didn't understand it, but then I found out the backstory after. So similarly, Terrier had been on he suffered of schizophrenia and drug problem and stuff like that. And he had sold his black belt because he was stuck for money. He was selling it outside an academy for a few years, and I'm pretty sure it was Alan Finch who bought it off him and said he kept it. He says, "And one day I'll give it back to you on the mat." And we were there that day, so I said, "This is it's completely unique." And I thought it was fantastic. I loved it from then, you know, because it was familiar, but it was completely different, you know, that way.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why the flag and the lineage thing is so important, as well as that when you look, you know, the from a judo point of view, I couldn't tell you like what my, you know, you Jigoro Kano, and then you've so many people to get up to Charlie Haggerty, and to me, like, how long is that lineage line? I'm not even sure. I don't know the history. I know a couple of people who were behind Charlie because that's when judo started in the 50s in Ireland. But if you look at where we are, you know, like it only goes like what's Maeda, Carlos Gracie, Carlson Gracie, Rodrigo, Andy, me. So it's only, you know, five steps of lineage behind us back to, you know, where it started in Brazil, which is it's great to have. And the other thing, I think some people, you see people leaving teams or, you know, get to a certain level and leave a team. You know, I'm a black belt now, I'm going to go out on my own. What happens? They end up stranding themselves where they can't be, you know, can't go to first degree, can't go to second degree because they haven't got a professor behind them. He was going to, unless they, you know, fly someone in to stick a piece of tape on them or whatever, you know. So it is very, very important, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's great to have a team with you, a big team with you when you're going away compete. It's always great crack.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. We jump on to the next question. I suppose we got quite a few, so there's quite a few to get through. So, I heard you wrist locked the boss recently.
I did, yeah. So just myself and Andy have been doing a bit of training, just two of us together, no one else in the gym, doing a few rounds. And he's a bit of a gammy shoulder, and we were rolling there a couple of weeks ago, and I caught him with a sneaky wrist lock on his bad arm. But I've been paying lots of tax on that since then. Lots. So it's about score is about 40-1 at the moment, I think.
Yeah, it was actually Andy asked that question, so I don't feel so bad asking it. So yeah, I suppose another one is like you mentioned competing and going to the Euros. So I know you've won the Euros at every belt, which is like an amazing achievement in its own right. But someone asked, what's your greatest competition win? Is there any specific one that stands out, or?
Um, they were all great for different reasons. You know, like the blue belt was the first year I'd gone back competing. That was my first jiu-jitsu tournament ever. So I just barely knew the rules and won it and got to the final of the absolute. Purple belt was good because it was straight after blue belt. Brown belt was 3 times trying to win the brown belt. And it was the hardest one to win, I thought. I suppose black belt is probably the most memorable one for a few reasons. Like it was only a couple of months after I got my black belt. It was probably, say 10 months after I got my black belt, and fourth time competing at black belt in the fourth in the Euros at black belt, being out. And then I was drawn against Helvesio Pena. You know the old guy always competed in the adults division, 5th degree black belt. So for the whole week leading up to it, like we were staying in Portugal, and you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, sorry, my screen blinked there. So the week leading up to it, like the lads would give me nothing but stick, saying he's gonna smash you, he's gonna tear you asunder. Like we were walking by the shopping centre, and I had these beds, if you're sick, they put in your house downstairs. The hammer saying you better stick one of them in your apartment because you're gonna need one after the week. All of this type of crack. But as we got closer to this tournament, like I was geeing myself up, and they were saying, like the day of the warm up, I was looking, and Andy said to me, he says, Andy, like even after I was flagging, Andy said, like, this is going to be the game plan. He's got a bit of trouble with his knees. He's going to pull guard. Keep squaring yourself up. Stick to the basics, and done exactly what Andy said. He pulled guard. I kept squaring up, and managed to catch him with a lapel loop around his arm, passed his guard and scored. He came back then, tried to take my arm off for about 2 minutes, swept me, and then I swept him with deep half and won 5-3, But it was brilliant because the crowd were really vocal when he was, like, we were coming onto the mat. The crowd, I could really feel the crowd were vocal for him, and like I was able to hear Andy's voice so clear. Like, it's amazing on the day, like when you're on, you're on. Like that day, everything seemed so clear. It's like it's in HD, and I could pick and every word. I could hear Andy's every word, and I could hear the crowd as the match went on, and there was like a minute left, and I was winning on points. I could hear the crowd dying away. I could hear Andy saying everything crystal clear, hold the position, stay on top, and then like the rest of the lads were miles away in the other end of the arena, and when the time went, I could hear them all roaring and screaming, like they were miles away, So and then it was only after we finished and went back down to the bullpen after the final. I fought an Octane guy in the final. I caught him with a takedown and controlled the match from there. It was just a sense of relief after, and I went back down to the bullpen, and then Andy said, "Fair play to you, the fourth Irish black belt to win it." So it didn't matter if it was Masters, but it was still the fourth Irish black belt to win it. So for that, that reason, I would say that's definitely the most memorable. Because I no sort of going into it, I had no sort of no pressure on myself. That was black belt. We'll see what happens, But I did dislocate my toe in the final, and I remember looking down, and my toe was sort of like a 45-degree angle, and I was going, "Oh, what the fuck do I do here?" So I said, "If I call the medics, they're gonna probably stop the match." So I bent down and snapped it back into place and carried on, but I couldn't do it. I would have loved to do the absolute then after it. I could have maybe got a match with Megaton or something like that, because there wasn't many in the absolute. He would have been in that division, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the black belt, they were all special, but the black belt was definitely the top one, I would think.
Unreal, yeah. So yeah, I'm just checking my notes here for more questions. Obviously you trained judo for a very long period. Someone asked what's your favorite judo throw for BJJ?
Mine, there's a few, like, there's two ways of looking at it. What my one is, it depends, when someone in competition, especially, when the other guy puts his hands on you, like from doing judo, so I think Andy said something similar. Someone puts your hands and you put your hands on them, you instinctively know, I do anyway, what way someone's going to move. I just know by the way they position themselves, the tension they give you and stuff like that. So based on the reaction I get from someone, is normally I'll set up a couple of small throws and then decide which big throw I'm going to think is going to work, you know. Because if I get a big throw in competition, it normally shell shocks someone. You catch someone with a big throw, they're absolutely shell shocked. They'll just, if the position is reset, they just sit down straight into a lazy half guard and give you the points, you know. If someone was looking for advice on what are the best takedowns for jiu-jitsu, I would say the easiest, quickest way is probably foot sweeps. Foot sweeps are easy to learn, they're highly effective, and they're very low risk to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like judo is like wrestling. If you don't do those dynamic drills continually from when you're at a relatively young age, you don't pick up that muscle memory, and you'll never be really athletic enough to be able to drill that continually. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, if you're in your late teens, early 20s, yeah, you'll pick them up. But if a guy comes in his 30s and he's not going to be, trying to smash double legs left, right, and center, or learn big uchimadas and stuff like that. So, yeah. Foot sweeps are probably the easiest to get stuff like that, because they're low risk to you, and it's all just about drilling them, learning the timing of foot sweep and using your hands. That's what I would think, Yeah,
so you wouldn't recommend, like, for a jiu-jitsu person who's not good at judo to be trying to turn his back at all, really?
No, like I score a lot with drop C and ag, but the movement to me is natural. It's a natural, like when I'm drilling drop C and ags, I'm skipping in and out on my toes, and you're skipping, you have a rhythm in out. So you're very confident with that position, and tactically you have to be aware of where you are on the mat as well. So if in competition, if I'm near a corner, I'll drop C and ag someone, because I'll either score the 2 points, or if there's a risk that he nearly gets to me back, do you know what I mean? We've gone outside the area and we're going to get reset again.
Yeah.
See, a lot of that comes position on the mat is another area that, tactically you have to be very aware of,
Yeah, and that's not something you can teach.
Yeah, it's something we used to practice all the time in judo, but it's not really. It's a good skill to have. It's probably not as important in jiu-jitsu, but something that you should be aware of, So, like, yeah, drop C and ags, if you're not going to commit to it completely, you're exposing your back completely. Tomanag, Yoka Tomanagi. If you go under someone and you don't commit to that properly, they're probably going to smash past your guard or mount you or something like that. So you really, you need to be confident in what you're doing, and you need to be drilling it continually. And when you go for it, you need to commit to it. Your commitment has to be, and the only way you get your commitment and confidence on the throw is through drilling it. It's through Uchikomi. You need to be doing thousands and thousands and thousands of reps. That throw. That's why foot sweeps, I think, are effective, easy. Get you to 2 points. And there's nothing sweeter than catching someone with a really clean foot sweep and taking them 3 or 4 feet in the air.
Yeah, it's something I've really wanted to get good at is my foot sweeps, but I just haven't even started to drill them. I just want to hit that highlight reel. We move on to the next question. Sorry, there's one. Is it gone? Yeah. What professional grapplers do you enjoy watching the most? If you watch professional grappling, I don't know, do you? But
I like watching them all. You don't see as much of it now. When the Copa Podia used to be on from Brazil, I used to love watching that. I used to think that was class. The Polaris one is always great. You always put a great show on. I love the mix of gi and no gi when they do Polaris shows. Some of the fight to win stuff is very good as well. It seems to be on every week in the States now, doesn't it? I suppose. Yeah, when they're on, I wouldn't. The combat jiu-jitsu, I'm not a big fan of, to be honest. Eddie Bravo was great Eddie Bravo rule set was great when it started out, but it ran out of steam fairly quickly because it was novels at the beginning. But I think the Polaris one was probably of the no-gi rule set. For the shows, I think the Polaris one was probably the best. Well, for me, I think I enjoy them the most. Is
there any particular grapplers you enjoy watching them on Polaris or?
No, I wouldn't like. From an Irish perspective, I always think Dara's great on Polaris. And Fionn, she's amazing. Like, she's pulled off some great results there. Red had a brilliant match when he was on it. The Irish lads have always done. Ciaran Daven's been great on it. Tom Halpin's been very good on it. And I think because a lot of the people as well. I think that's what makes it really good, and they always put a great show on, But the Gordon Ryan, I wouldn't be a big fan of, like, on the bullshit that he goes on. Amazing grappler.
His jiu-jitsu is phenomenal, but as a person, I think he's a piece of shit. It's
all showmanship, isn't it? But Gary Conan's brilliant as well when he was on it as well, like, Yeah, there's so many talented guys out there,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've started watching a lot of Gordon Ryan stuff in the last couple of months, and like the way he engages from seated open guard is just insane. I just can't figure it out how it's so. It looks simple, like.
But again, it looks simple, but like how old is he now? How old is he now?
25.
28?
25.
Is he 25?
Yeah.
Like, he was 17 and 18, he was a killer, But like, was 19 brown belt, got his black belt shortly after. So he's been, pro grappler non-stop for a number of years, and the same with a lot of them, But they all have the day. He seems to be dominating at the moment,
Yeah, can't see him being stopped at all. Maybe Felipe Pena, if that ever happens again.
Yeah, just gonna say Felipe Pena seems to have his number a little bit, but
that was a few years ago now.
Even in no-gi, Felipe Pena was able to keep up from then he got done for juicing, so.
Yeah, they're all on it. We won't get into that. That's a whole podcast in itself.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good. No, it's great that, like, all the different rule sets are good, They all have their own merits,
Yeah, 100%. We have two more questions, and then we'll try to get a rant out of you. You're probably the most level-headed person in Team Rhino, so I don't know, will we get a rant out of you, but we'll try. Next question is who's your favorite brown belt in HQ? And you
I'll
can
say
guess
Andy
who
he
asked.
did he?
Yeah.
This is,
Who else?
who else? There's loads of brown belts, isn't there?
Oh, there's loads of brown belts, but I was like, who else would ask that question? Of course it's him.
Oh yeah, he would ask. Yeah, I did see him there the other night. I gave him some stick, toast of London, but he didn't know who he was. And when I looked at the picture, I nearly died laughing. Now he was good crack. Like he takes some stick. Same with all the lads take some stick. There's some great brown belts are all different ages in the club. I think he was at Brown, Stevie Carr, Browner, Paul McIntyre, drummers, yourself. God, there's loads of brown belts, you know.
Yeah.
It'd be great when we all get back together and start having a bit of crack again, you know.
Yeah, fingers crossed to be sooner rather than later.
Oh, you like midsummer, I'd say maybe.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Hopefully.
So this
Yeah.
is related to the barbecue because you do a massive barbecue every time, like any of the big open days. But
I'm just back from a big meat boy for the weekend.
Unreal. David O'Neill wants you to explain the process and recipe for his beer can chicken.
Easy. So for me is you have to brine your chicken overnight to make a brine up of sugar, salt, water, peppercorns. Brine the chicken overnight. Take it out the brine the next day. Dry it off. Put a dry rub onto it. Make whichever type of dry rub you want. I normally use, what would I use? Black pepper, cayenne pepper, paprika, bit of brown sugar, some more spices. Put the rub onto it. Leave it for a few hours. Then you actually don't really have to use beer in the beer can. It's a bit of a myth. You can put water in the can if you want, but I normally use half. You only have to only has to be less than half a can of beer in the can. So drink half the Heineken. Take your time while the barbecue's lighting.
It's important, isn't it?
Insert it into the board. Then put it on low and slow and leave it on for a couple of hours. But brining is the secret. That's what keeps it really juicy.
You'll have to start a cooking show yourself and Dearman.
There's a load of lads. There's a load of lads in the club now at barbecue, and it's Colin Healy has a big green egg as well. Potter's at a buying a Komodo. Dearman was big into his barbecue, and Andy's going to buy one during the summer. Who else has one? Dara Fagan, because he's married to a Brazilian girl, and he's always cooking picanha and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a load of lads like a bit of meat. Keep the testosterone levels up.
Final thing, so before we kind of start wrapping it up, Robbie, I suppose the whole point of the podcast is kind of to get a rant out of the guests. So I suppose, is there anything that's kind of been annoying you? Could be in the last couple of months or over the last few years, whatever. Can be martial arts related, can be life related, whatever. But give us a rant.
The whole COVID thing, I've been steered and clear of. I won't rant about that. There's enough ranting going on about that because I've been lucky enough to be working. So I've been working. It has impacted me, you know, personally, because I can't go training or we have to stay in a bubble. I would be pro-vaccination because my wife has a lung complaint, so that's why I've been sort of keeping away from mixing and keeping away, sticking to the bubble as such, you know. So that's from. But a rant about martial arts would be the only couple of things that really annoy me is coming onto a class late and not acknowledging the coach that you're coming on late. Like, I would never have done that when I was younger. Theoretically, you wouldn't be allowed on the class, you know.
Yeah.
Leave them without asking. Just basic etiquette, you know. Socks on the mat is another hate. Just simply because your feet are cold, right? Fair enough, yeah, but once the mat starts to warm up, they can get a bit slippy. The last thing you want is someone slipping with socks on, especially kids on like that, tearing an ACL or down a knee or something like that, you know. And what else annoys me is if you're shown a technique, and it doesn't really annoy me. It depends what level of the person asks you back. Yeah, but what if? Do you know what I mean?
I hate the what ifs. I can't do the what ifs.
So if it's a white belt, yeah, it's understandable because they're only learning. But if it's a higher grade, you know, a blue belt who's been a blue belt for a while, or a purple belt, they should know better than they should just think it out themselves. Yeah, but what if? And ask you later on. Do you know what I mean? You're there to show a technique. Everyone should watch the technique. They don't have to take it into the game. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I always say that when I'm teaching something. Okay, I'm going to show something. I like doing it. It suits my game. You might like it or you mightn't like it. Well, let's go through it. If you want to take it on board, take it on board. If you don't, fair enough. But just once you get a small takeaway from what's being shown, you know, because everyone's game is different, you know. But yeah, small stuff like that, and making notes. But I've always said, you know, you don't have to write an essay every time you go home. But if you've been shown something and you like it, you should have a small notebook in your bag and just write it down, or put it in your phone even. Stamp some notes, something just because that will trigger you to remember it, you know. Because it's not worse than going. And I'm guilty of it myself sometimes. You go to a seminar and you're shown a small detail, you go, that was brilliant, blah, blah, blah. And you ask about it at the end, you're shown something. And then you go home 2 hours later, you're wrecked, and you go, 2 days later, you go, what was that again? Because I can't remember that day. And you miss one, the little detail that you thought was important is gone, you know. So small stuff like that. Don't be late for your class. If you're coming on, just as a mark of respect to your instructor, just acknowledge that you're coming on, no problem. If you're doing it, if an instructor's doing a technique, don't wander off doing something else. That's what the end of the class or before the class is for. Or yeah, well, what if he puts this there and you put that there? Right, we'll talk about that later. Because for every technique you were shown, there is a counter. You know, I think that's one of the beauties of jiu-jitsu. It's evolving all the time. So no matter what happens, someone's, you know, you'll see something new, or what you think is new, which is 9 times out of 10, it's an old technique that's come from somewhere else. But someone is always once someone sees that, or someone is being caught with something, straight away they start working on the counter for that technique. You know what I mean? So, small stuff like that.
Small stuff, all the small stuff.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks. I think we'll wrap it up there. I don't think there's any other questions I missed, but is there anything else you want to kind of chat about, or you just?
Yeah, it's just one small thing. I don't know. People will catch up on this. I'm going to post it up next week. So about the camp for this year. So we've been engaging with the hotel, and they have our deposits, and they've moved deposit from last year to this year. I know Portugal is looking to open up completely by end of May, June. So we're depending on, based on what I heard there the other day, hopefully by, you know, the end of this, the later on in this year, we'll be allowed to travel. So we're thinking of moving the camp to the end of October, which would probably make more sense and would give us our best shot at going. And what we'll do is we'll probably just wait closer to the time, lock all the rooms down with the hotel, and just do one payment, where previously we've broken across because we don't know what's going to happen. We're going to leave it closer to the date. and hopefully, yeah, we get the camp going again this year, end of October, because the weather will still be great in down the Algarve for the end of October, you know.
Yeah, something to look forward to. Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah, because it's getting bigger and bigger every year. Like I think the first year there was 11 people went, then it was 20 odd, then it was 30 odd, then it took a jump to 60, and last year we had 70 people booked in, you know.
Yeah, I've a gaggle from Cork to come with me, so hopefully they'll all come.
They love it. Yeah, it's great. You know, it's there's something for everybody. There's a broad mix of ages, broad mix of grades, good mix of instructors. There's not too much pressure on. You know, you've a training session in the morning. You're free then for the whole day to, you know, go to the beach. The hotel we have is a fantastic big pool area. It's sort of inside the courtyard. Really nice hotel. 2 or 3 pools. You can relax there for the day. There's a gym, saunas, jacuzzi in the hotel, and then we're back in the evening. We try to do the training in the evening a little bit earlier than we used to a couple of years ago because of the numbers that we have. You know, if we get to training at 5:30 now, I think is when we tend to do it. 5:30 to 6:30 gives everybody a chance to get back, get changed, and head out to dinner. You're not going out too late. Because when you have so many people, you can't get everybody into restaurants together, so you end up breaking up on blocks going out that way, you know. So you a broad mix of people, all different ages, and I think it's gone down really well because you've the same group of people coming back year on year, you know. A lot of guys from the north come, which is fantastic because you get to spend a few days with guys from the team you normally wouldn't roll with continually. You know, you might have one roll with them at a belt promotion day in HQ, or if we have an open day in HQ, you might get one roll a year. At least when you go to Portugal, you're there for 3 or 4 days of training. 2 sessions a day, you're gonna get, you know, rolls and rolls with different bodies all the time. So yeah, hopefully end of October we'll get it off this year. And if we don't, we'll see. We might do one on the west coast of Ireland.
Yeah, because Andy had mentioned that, all right.
Yeah, I've trained down in Westport a few times in Impact Martial Arts. They have a good sized gym. And we had asked them about that last year, and it was going to be a runner, but the way things went last year, there was no real chance of training, you know. So if foreign travel is not approved for this year, we might do a West Coast long weekend, which I think would be good. You know, training, bit of mountain climbing, bit of kayak and stuff like that, you know. Plenty of hostels, nice hotels and stuff like that down in Westport. So we'll be able to work something out, you know.
Savage. Cool, brilliant stuff, Robbie. I'd say we wrap it up there. So thanks for coming on. Really appreciated you to come on.
Thanks for having me. We'll see you in Cork fairly soon, I hope.
Yeah, fingers crossed. You're overdue a visit now. Overdue a visit now at this stage, man.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the inter-county travel to. I have the camper out of storage and it's ready to go for the summer.
Unreal.
Oh, we'll see you.
See ya.
What was that?
You were down my way last year at some point, weren't you? You're down West Cork.
Yeah, last August. Yeah, we started in Kintail and went along the Wild Atlantic Way, right around the Mizzen Head. I'd never been out to Mizzen or Dorsey Island and places like that. It was beautiful. Yeah, we were blessed. Yeah. Like the weather was fantastic for the week, and finished up. Went right around Kerry and up, and finished up on Achill Island. So this year I'm going to probably start from Achill again and head up Donegal up towards Andy's direction.
Brilliant.
So that side of it and across the top of the north, you know.
Yeah, that's class.
Unreal. And visit visit a couple of gyms on the way this year, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. That's probably the what I'd do if I was doing it. I'd go gym to gym. But
Yeah, because I always do when I'm away on business or I'm away on holidays and stuff like that. I always have a gear with me. Always trying, because it's a great way to meet people, isn't it? You know, something like 2019, I was in Singapore on business and sent an email to Evolve MMA, the guy who owns that one fighting championships,
yeah,
and sent them an email and they said, "Oh yeah, black belts come train for free. Please drop in." I want to see the setup they have in Singapore. It's like the Shelbourne Hotel. It's like a 5-star hotel gym,
yeah,
slap bang in the middle of the business district. Massive glass place. They've actually 2 concierges in the locker room, giving out towels and unbelievable setup. But a lot of it was geared towards it was MMA pros and that there, but the bottom floor was classes, but it was nearly all pads, Muay Thai pads, or sort of corporate people, you know. Then up the second floor there was Thai boxing and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. But yeah, I had some great training sessions there. I met some really good people, you know. It's the same. I don't think jiu-jitsu have ever had a bad experience. You know, you turn up somewhere training someone saying that guy's a fucking asshole. Like, you know, we've got a negative. Brazilians are coaches, you know, they're always so welcoming, you know, always really cool, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's my 6 months. Bring your gear with you when you're traveling, or no gear wherever you're going. Enjoy your training.
I think we can wrap it up there. So that's pretty good ending now to the podcast. Brilliant stuff, Rob.
All right, I'll see you, Ciaran. All the best.